Since Furiosa is now in theaters, I think it would be a pretty fun idea to rank all 5 Mad Max movies in a tier list. Before we get started though, leave your rankings down below. I'd love to see your opinions on the Mad Max movies and how you'd rank them. And make sure to leave a like, helps me out a lot. But let's get right to the tier list. Alright, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys before we start. I'm going to combine all the 3 original Mad Max movies and just do those all at once because I will say I've only watched them all once in the past month, and some of those movies leave my brain pretty quickly because I honestly didn't find them that great. We'll talk about each one a little bit on their own, but some people really do love them, and I can respect them for that. Like, there's a lot to love, especially if you're nostalgic for that, if you love like kind of old-timey feel, if you love what it does for action filmmaking, because those first 3, they do a lot for action filmmaking. And I think the first one even, I think there was a statistic out that it was the most profitable film of all time until like the Blair Witch Project, and that's kind of insane. Like, an action film being the most profitable film of all time until Blair Witch, that's cool. It really is. George Miller really did kind of do some crazy stuff for the action genre, for the stunts, stunt kind of teams and all that. What he did for stunt work and all that. But he did just how he just. I think this guy has probably destroyed so many cars. There are probably the most cars throughout any single director's films because he's destroyed so many cars. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Mel Gibson is this Mad Max. This is the iteration of Mad Max. And some people see these Mad Max movies as all the same timeline. Me personally, I see the first 3 Mad Max movies as one timeline. Then Fury Road, I see as a kind of like a reboot. It's a different timeline, different characters, different iterations. So yeah, that's why I'm going to keep these 3 separate. The first Mad Max one, this one is one that does not feel like a Mad Max movie. I was watching it and I was like, this just feels like normal times. I mean, it does take a place a few years in the future. It's like there's some kind of wars going on, there's biker gangs and all that. But at the same time, it does not feel like Mad Max. You're not in like a desert or anything. Nothing feels like an imminent threat, and no one's really dying really right away. So nothing really feels so insane in this one compared to the other ones. It just feels really low key. It felt like it was long. Like, I think it's a little under 2 hours, but it felt like it was 3 hours. Like, I swear to God. This one felt like it took a long time. Mel Gibson, though, I feel like he does give a really great performance in this movie and all the other ones. I think this is probably his best performance in this trilogy. So the first Mad Max, I put it in the okay tier. That poster is really cool. I love the poster for these. Mad Max 2, this is the one where it finally turns into that kind of post-apocalyptic Mad Max world that we all know, we all love. And this one features new gangs and all that, features much more insane action sequences because they did level up the budget here. So I was really impressed with that compared to the first one. Really impressed with the feel of this one. As I said, it felt like more of a Mad Max movie. That one little kid with a boomerang was like, it kind of stole the show for me. I thought that was awesome. So Mad Max 2, I'll put it in the good tier. Still not great though. Mad Max 3, Beyond Thunderdome, is one that I won't talk about for too long because I felt like it had a lot of missteps, because you went to Mad Max 2 from being actually pretty good to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome to pretty bad in my eyes. I wouldn't say it's the direction's fault. I'd say it's the story and the script, because this one just felt so silly. And I get, this universe is kind of silly because they're fighting over gasoline and all that and other resources, but at the same time the villain was super silly. Mel Gibson's character in this one was odd. He was teaming up with like these little kid pirates, like that one movie Peter Pan and like the Lost Boys. It kind of like the Lost Boys in this movie were like that. And honestly, halfway through I was like, I gotta finish it, but I don't know if I can take it anymore, because it just wasn't that entertaining in my eyes, and none of the action seemed as good as Mad Max 2. So Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome just wasn't one that I probably will ever go back to, so I'll put it in the bad tier. But no, not terrible. I wouldn't say it's really terrible, but one that it's just a big step down from number 2. Then we got Mad Max Fury Road. We're getting to the really juicy stuff, and as I said, I see this as a completely different kind of story, completely different timeline, a complete reboot. I don't understand how you could see these as the same timeline, considering it's different actors, different characters and all that. It's just a reboot. I would say George Miller came back to this franchise, and he came back shooting flames, I would say, because for the first 3 movies, they were made many years ago with like really small budgets. I think like they were made with like $20 million budgets and below for some of them. The first one was made for really low budget. As I said, this one's budget was like 130 million to 180 million, somewhere in that range. And it hardly broke profit, but man, I'm so happy that Warner Bros. Let him make this movie with that insane budget, because it all shows on screen. The practical effects are insane. The visual effects are crazy. Like, I will say, I think my favorite scene from the movie is the storm sequence, when you go in that wide shot and they're going into this storm with Furiosa's war rig, and you see they're in the storm, then the score kicks in. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is insane. And the tornado, I'm like, the tornado and kind of like the electricity going through the tornado, and you see all the people like going into it, and I'm like, this is insane. If Twisters can be anything like whatever that was, I'll be really happy with Twisters. But yeah, this movie is the pinnacle of what an action movie can be. It switches between being my favorite action movie to being my second favorite action movie. It's either this and John Wick 4. It's some of the best action work ever done, and it's just a long chase sequence. It's like they're going in kind of like a circle kind of thing, and it's kind of like a split movie between our two protagonists, our Mad Max and Furiosa. They kind of share the movie. And Tom Hardy, I think he does a great job here. His ADR is kind of funny at sometimes, because he's speaking directly into the mic, and he just grunts a lot, which I find funny. And he has that one meme. He's like, "That's bait. That's bait." I can't really do his voice, but I think he has a funny voice in here. So many great uses of sound in here. The sound of the cars, sound of the use of no sound. The score is amazing. Nicholas Hoult. Oh, what a great addition. Nicholas Hoult is just terrific here. The wives featured here, a lot of them weren't big names, kind of like Kravitz, Zoe Kravitz. She wasn't a big name at this until after this. A lot of them blew up after this, so this one they have a lot to think about. And it just goes by, it flies by. It's a 2-hour movie, quick chase sequence, another quick chase sequence. And another one of my favorite scenes is when they're after the storm, they have that one fight scene with the gun. Then another one when the bike getting chased in the air, the bike's flying in the air, they're shooting them out of the air. Oh, it's such a great movie. I watched it in the past week. I think I watched it like 4 or 5 times. It's insanely rewatchable. I think it's in my top 10 movies of all time. If you don't like Mad Max Fury Road, I don't know what you like at this point. So Mad Max Fury Road, go in the Amazing here. Next up is Furiosa. The full review is out on the channel, so go ahead and watch that if you'd like. But I won't be going into any spoilers here, so you don't have to worry about this. But this is another fantastic entry into the genre. It kind of feels like more of an odyssey, because this is Furiosa's story, her origin, told in 5 chapters. It kind of feels like a novel brought to life, and it kind of feels like a graphic novel at times with some of the visuals. Some of the CGI is a little out there, and some of it doesn't work, but once you're locked in, you don't really notice it as much. The action is insane. Like, there's some sequences in here that just go on forever and ever, and I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. I mean, it's not at the level of Fury Road, but it's really at that amazing level still. And Anya Taylor-Joy does so much with her eyes here. She conveys so much emotion, because she doesn't have a lot of lines here, but her eyes just sell so much of what she's trying to say. And there's a part chapter 5 of this, where I'm just leaning in so hard. Like, each chapter you lean in more and more and more. And Chris Hemsworth, his villain here, Dementus, it's a great performance by him. One of my favorite performances I think I've seen from him. It's a really silly villain, a really over the top villain, which is the point, because Mad Max does a lot of very over the top people in this world, and I thought he was one of the more tame people in this kind of world, and he really did kind of steal the show here. Like, each sentence he says, it got a really big laugh out of my theater, and I thought he was a very hilarious character, even though he's a very sadistic character at times. Like, he does kill some people in some very harsh ways, has a very interesting way to deal with some stuff. Anya Taylor-Joy, I think I would say this is her best role yet, her best performance yet. She does a lot, and I really did love that one action sequence that they said that took on the Fury Road, took like 70 days to film. Crazy. And then at the Bullet Farm, oh, what a great action sequence. Just wait till we see that. Then the ending of this movie kind of leads right into Fury Road, and I was saying that you really have to watch both these movies together. You can't leave one without the other, because it just feel kind of empty. Because once you're done with Furiosa, you'll want to go watch Mad Max Fury Road, because after this movie is over, I wanted to watch it again, but I also wanted to watch Mad Max Fury Road again. I was like, why don't you just give us the double feature? That would have been insane. But yeah, this movie just really made me really happy. It's 2.5 hours, but I think it really flew by. I cannot wait to go see it again. It has so many colors popping off the charts, It's like a sprawling odyssey, as I said. It's a huge character journey for Furiosa. Anya Taylor-Joy knocked it out of the park. So Furiosa is going in the amazing tier, and actually, we don't really have to do a final ranking because there's not many movies, and this is how I rank them. Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome, bad tier. Mad Max 1, just okay. Mad Max 2 is good, not in the great tier, not in the terrible tier. Amazing tier, Furiosa, and then Mad Max Fury Road, first position as always. Best action movie of all, second best maybe, but I really hope that George Miller does another Mad Max movie, maybe like a Mad Max prequel film before Fury Road. That would be awesome to see. But yeah, that's my ranking of all the Mad Max movies. Leave yours down below. Love to hear your thoughts. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're on there to 700 subscribers. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.